Have you ever used ChatGPT, but by the time you'd got your desired output, it would have been quicker to do things manually? Well, that stops today because I'm going to show you how to get perfect AI outputs at your first attempt. And it's using something called the CRISPE framework. And this is something that even companies like Microsoft use to get 10x better performance from AI. But first, we're going to start with the place that if you get this wrong, the rest of the prompt is always going to fall down. Let's jump straight into ChatGPT and go through this framework. We're going to go through each area, CRISPE, break down what it means, why it's important, and how you can use it to yourself, as well as write a live prompt in ChatGPT. So the CRISPE framework, let's start off with C and break this down and write the first part of the prompt. C in CRISPE stands for context, and it sets the stage completely for everything you're about to do. I feel without this, the rest of your prompts and your work is going to fall down because you really got no context as to what you're driving at. Imagine you've asked a human to perform a task for you and you don't give it any context and you just say something like, write me a marketing email about my Italian restaurant. Okay, that's the minimal context, and a lot of people don't even deliver that into ChatGPT. So you really need to be defining your business situation, your industry, and your goals. Basically, what are you trying to achieve and what's stopping you get there? That's essentially what a lot of the work we do in these models is, hey, I want to do this. I don't know how to do this, or this is stopping me. Can you do it for me? Can you help me? Can you research? So if we go back into ChatGPT, and if you want help using this CRISPE framework, then you can actually use this CRISPE prompt generator that I've created. It's a custom GPT, which is going to guide you through the whole process to actually get great outputs. And there's a link in the description where you can get this custom GPT. I'll give you an example of this context. So you can see here how clean and easy these are to write. If you were talking about your business, you give context about your business. I run a family-owned Italian restaurant in downtown Denver with 15 years of history. We're struggling to compete with newer restaurants, so the problem we're struggling with that seem to dominate Google searches are current Google business profile gets minimal engagement despite good food and customer loyalty. We've defined the problem and we've sort of given it what we're trying to achieve or what we're trying to get out of the work today. So that's the initial context. Once you've gone here, we need to go a little further and define the role. We need to tell ChatGPT how we want it to act, who we want it to become. We need to define exactly who we wanted it to become. So we're not just maybe an SEO expert. We're an SEO consultant with particular expertise in this, that, or Y to give it more of a frame of how we want it to work and the sort of knowledge that we want it to use and possess in our work. A lot of prompts that you'll have seen around the web is the role. And often people start off with this and they don't actually provide the context, which does work, but you kind of miss out that important first step. You'll have seen act as a local SEO specialist who has successfully optimized over 500 Google business profiles with particular expertise in helping established family business compete against newer, more digitally savvy competitors. So we're giving it the role which is perfectly suited with something that is drawing on experience that it would need to fulfill our problem. Quite simple to understand once you start seeing this. So give it a role. You don't have to go as in depth as this. This is just to really drive home my point. You could go as simple as act as a world-class SEO specialist who's great at optimizing Google business profiles. The next section, instructions. Again, very lax a lot of people get on this, and ChatGPT does something and they're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. Either the way the task is done or the step-by-steps it needs to take, or just a clear specific task breakdown. And it comes back with maybe we were looking to do an SEO plan, but it comes back with sort of half-baked plan or kind of misses a lot of areas, or it's not in the structure that you want because you actually defined what you want, the instructions of how you want the task performed and what you want back. Again, if you were giving a human instructions and you didn't give one of your team members or staff members sort of a clear SOP or structure in the way you wanted things done, it's probably not going to come back the way you want it because people go off on their own tangents, same as AI will go off in its own tangent and do it the way it thinks best because it hasn't been given any other instructions. So we need to give instructions. Create a comprehensive 30-day Google business profile optimization strategy. So you can see 30-day plan basically that will increase local search visibility, drive more foot traffic, and improve online reviews. So again, we're hitting our goals again. Focus, and where we're telling it to focus, we don't want huge time investment because we're a small business. We've got to focus. So we need something that's easier to implement over a 30-day period. Those are the clear instructions. So it's not going to go off and create a really high cost, year-long SEO plan, which we have no chance of actually implementing it. We're giving it some clear boundaries to work in. Then, similar to instructions, really, specifications. So you can actually, I'm sure we've all been there. We've asked ChatGPT to write something and it's just come back with a load of bullet points. You're like, well, no, I wanted a clean, nice email. And you have this back and forth until you get the length and the tone right. So we can actually specify this in our prompts. We can give it whether we want bullet points, paragraph, tables, length and tone, the specific elements that we want it to include, any technical requirements as well. You can specify all this stuff to make sure it comes out in the format that you want. And that can be really simple as well too. If you like things in a particular way, you can always have the same specification set up, or you can just add a few notes as what you to what you want. But as you can see here, we want that 30-day plan. We want it in a week-by-week action plan, specific post templates I can use, prioritize tasks, the prioritization of what we should be doing of impact versus effort, explanations that are simple and actionable, and include measurable goals for each week. So we're giving it even more defined specifications of how we want this plan delivered to make sure it's not just one long big paragraph of like, do this. We actually want this in a specific format. Next, the P. The P in CRISPE stands for performance. We're talking about the quality that we want and what constitutes success in our work, what it can avoid, what we don't want, because there might be certain stipulations where we actually don't care about this, this, and this, so don't include that. Any industry standards we have, and how to measure this success. So we can ask, say, like, this is our success metric, but actually, how are we going to measure that success as well? And in our example for performance, we've got in here, each recommendation should be implementable within 2 hours per week. So again, we're giving even more clarity on how much time we've got available, where specifically we want it to focus, and where we want it to avoid. We don't want highly technical things or things that are highly expensive, because that's not implementable for us. So success in providing this plan is something that we can easily implement for 2 hours each week that have proven to work in other markets. And then finally, again, this is a really helpful one that a lot of people don't do because they almost want ChatGPT to do them for them, but you could go and get it to do this bit of research, I say. But especially when we're talking about, hey, our competitors are doing this, how can we do better? We could actually get examples. The E in CRISPE, to finish it off, stands for examples. So you can actually show ChatGPT what a good output and result and success looks like. So we can reference other successful companies, successful people, pieces of work. This works great, especially with image generation or when you're trying to replicate writing styles. You can literally paste in examples of writing styles, of images, of references that you want it to draw from, and say, like, do it like this, or we want to do it similar to this. And this gives it specific elements or specific types of business strategies that you can replicate in your outputs. So here, examples similar to how, and we're talking about pizza restaurants. So we could pick another pizza restaurant that's highly successful online in Chicago, transformed their local presence, went from page 3 to position 1 for best downtown pizza for Chicago, or let's clear that up a little bit, best pizza in Chicago, but adapted for our Italian cuisine focus and family brand. So a similar feel, but for another slight twist or industry that we're working on. So in some scenarios, ChatGPT, especially if it had deep research on, could go and actually look at a company like that's all their marketing assets, their structure of their website, their Google rankings, all the different content around them, to try and replicate that for a similar company. And boom, that's our prompt. Context, role, instructions, specifications, performance, and examples. You could run this with deep research to get a really great plan, but we could just run this in a really short time, and we'll start to see actually how it's coming out. Practical, high impact, low 30-day Google business profile optimization plan, broken down week by week, and boom, it's going and running that for us and giving us time of what everything's going to take and building our plan out really nicely in a really structured way, the way we've asked for. Compare that to a basic prompt like create an SEO plan for my Italian restaurant in Denver. We can actually compare the difference in output that's gone, and straight away it said foundations week 1 and 2, technical. It's already gone and started offering technical stuff, and we know we don't want a lot of technical work. It's done keyword research, local citations, GBB posting. It's all over the place. Like, these are SEO elements, but it's already on blog post by week 3. It's asked us to go and target local keywords in week 2. There's a lot of work in here to do, and its 30-day quick start guide is actually a bit all over the place compared to what we've got here, which is a really targeted, really clean way of we're trying to improve our Google business profile listing. It's giving us really actionable advice, time breakdowns, even giving us business descriptions for that specific thing, rather than just, hey, here's a quick rundown of what you want, essentially. So you can see the difference in what you're getting in your output from using a really well constructed frameworked prompt. And if you want help using this CRISPE framework, then you can actually use this CRISPE prompt generator that I've created. It's a custom GPT, which is going to guide you through the whole process to actually get great outputs. And there's a link in the description where you can get this custom GPT.